Hello everyone, my name is Regina and this is my presentation on the Common Core standards. The main focus is about the debate between fiction and non-fiction literature. So the Common Core standards have been around for the past decade and are set to improve the things our children are learning in the public school system. CC is designed to make sure every child is up to speed with the things they need based on the level of education they are in. Although it has been implemented in about 45 states nationwide, there are still many concerns as it continues to be amended. One of the main focuses at the moment is the debate between fiction and non-fiction literature. Many believe that there needs to be a stronger focus on non-fiction literature in schools for kids to gain more knowledge on facts, which would call for more practical literature. Both are important to be taught in the public schools, but having a grasp on strong practical knowledge is needed for children to grow into successful adults for their future. By discussing the inequalities children face in the public schools, the standards that the universities have today, and the goals for the future, I hope to show you the importance of more non-fiction literature texts in our schools. Instead of one overpowering the other, there needs to be a balance between both fiction and non-fiction literature. This will avoid one being taken away or becoming overlooked in light of the other. There needs to be a balance between the two because both are of equal importance. The main issue at the moment, assessed by the appendix of Common Core Standards, states that despite the steady or growing reading demands from various sources, K through 12 reading texts have actually trended downward in difficulty in the last half century. Although there is a significant amount of children reading more than ever, the quality of what they are reading is being lost, and as the climb in fiction novels and such rises. The public school system is meant to equip the children of this nation for the real world with the knowledge and skills needed to survive on their own. Children across the nation are not always given the same equal opportunities to excel in school and life. Depending on where they are, where and how they are raised, can have a strong impact on the life choices they make. With this in mind, teachers are then given a more pressing task of trying to teach children who are at different levels. As it is being argued, non-fiction literature is now increasing with schools to help challenge students. Students are in school to be taught and to learn, and not every student will become an English major based on their love for fiction literature. So presenting the children with more practical knowledge is being needed more than ever to help children focus on the future. In many cases, children are not always given equal opportunities. This is in relation to how a child's home life can be and how it reflects on their academic performance. In a study done by Claire Baker, she studied on the difference between white middle-class families and Mexican families. She says, research on early parenting and school readiness in most white middle-class families has demonstrated that early parenting practices have a significant impact on children's early academic achievement and preparation for school. However, fewer studies have examined the relation between early parenting and school readiness in Hispanic families. This is not an attack on minorities or to discriminate by any means. This is an article showing how, because of the way a child is being raised, they may or may not have the skills needed for their education. Many children, by the time they are in preschool, already know their numbers and alphabet, and have already developed their cognitive skills well. Depending on how they are brought up, their skills can also be stronger than normal. Many children, however, don't have the proper teachings at home and are then given a disadvantage from those children that do. This is an example of the many inequalities children face today. This is why there needs to be more informative texts implemented in the schools. Baker also says that as the nation becomes more diverse, it is critically important that researchers engage in a culturally responsive research that will enhance our understanding of child development in ethnically and linguistically diverse families. This is going to be for every area. It is also It is also to help identify the areas and ways we can help those who fall behind in school based on their cultural backgrounds. This is to demonstrate the need for strong schools with stronger ways of learning. There are many adversities in the classroom, and it can be difficult to try to teach students as if they were all on the same level. Although many texts are difficult for children to read or comprehend, having more informal texts on the world around them is going to give them a better foundation. There is nothing against fun, fictional texts that show children how to use their imagination and escape from reality with the joy of reading, but this is not the issue. The issue is having children focus on more fiction more than other informative texts that can help them develop basic skills for their future. So in order to help children succeed, there needs to be a strong, firm foundation within the school. If a child is not able to learn stability and the basics of life at home, then the school needs to do their best to support those children. Not all schools are the same, and not all children are the same, but there can be an equally leveled playing field in the classroom to get everyone on the same page. Having a strong, informative text in the classroom that will help develop children's cognitive skills will only make them stronger. The Common Core system states that families partner with teachers and schools for their children's education. As we have discussed, this isn't always the case. Not every parent is able to partner with the schools, and not every child even has their parents around to be available to partner with the schools to help them for their education. So ultimately, in the time that a teacher has a student in their classroom, they need to prepare them and give them the skills that they need. In an article from UNICEF discussing the readiness for children, they touch on some good points by saying the simplicity of the term school readiness relies on the complexity of the concept and its relevance for development. In part, the challenge of understanding school readiness lies in the exponential expansion of the science and knowledge of the topic. In order to help children grow and flourish, there needs to be an amendment of studies in the skill levels that our children are being taught today. Having a full set of fiction literature for classrooms doesn't need to be taken away, but there also is a need for more practical texts as well. A child may have all the skills for their imagination to run wild, but if they do not have the proper linguistic skills, how will they be able to express themselves in a proper manner? There is nothing wrong with telling a child they can use their imagination to escape reality and express themselves in a way that teaches them to be free and have fun. But if, at the same time, the life skills of being able to read and identify complex words that will expand their vocabulary, if that isn't being taught at the same level of importance as the magic in Harry Potter, then it's not being done well. Janet Alsop wrote an article where she argues for more fictional texts by saying, "When I was a child, I read books early. I can't remember not being able to read stories." The love she had for literature is how she taught her students to love it as well. Even the Shakespeare plays that no one could understand. She then goes on to say that, that because of her experience with literature and reading, it inspired her to become an English major in college, and this was her perspective. As it is known, not all students will love literature or learning in general, but fiction is needed, and using fiction is looked at as the doorway into learning and finding so much more from books by using one's own imagination. It may be the doorway, but it cannot just end there. Many children have gone on to only having read fictional novels during the time that they were in school and haven't been exposed to enough of any other type of book. If they are not given the proper tools to succeed along the way, along with their hope and dreams, then their future maybe not as well. Again, this is not to take away from fiction literature. There can be a lot that is learned from texts such as the Odyssey and Shakespeare that not only tell great stories, but give us a look into that time period which they are written in. But also having students who are well-rounded in knowledge may be a bigger advantage for students who are coming out of high school. Although many are against implementing a wider variety of texts, there is also a good side to it. The fun of literature may seem to be taken away, but the knowledge they can gain from the text is the goal. From the Common Core standards online, it has been said that the Common Core students are asked to read stories and literature, as well as more complex texts that provide facts and background knowledge in areas such as science and social studies. Students will be challenged and asked questions that push them to refer back to what they've read. This stresses critical thinking, problem solving, and analytical skills that are required to help them success in college, career, and in life. Depending on the age, there is going to be a difference in the content being taught to the children. However, there should be a balance between the subjects that they are being taught. If a child in 2nd grade reads a book about Martin Luther King Jr., it is probably not going to have the details of the intense violence that occurred in that time. A book like Martin's Big Words, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which is appropriate for grades K through 3rd. This is a book that is not only good because it is informal, but also because it exposes kids to a language level that is more advanced. This is an example of the kind of text that is needed to help balance out the fictional works. Just like parents try to teach their children to eat their dinner before they can have desserts, it can be used in the same context. The children need to eat meat before they can have their sweets. There is already a difference being displayed in the work of students from AP courses versus regular ones. It is not to say that the model of AP courses versus regular ones is the answer. However, in the eyes of the universities, the only children that show well-developed cognitive skills and stand out from the others are those who have taken advanced courses during high school. Those who desired to get into an Ivy League school are those who stood out. Having the same mentality to ensure our students to get into the top schools, they need to have the top-of-the-line education. In the New York Times, there was an article written from the Vice President and Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at St. Lawrence University. He discusses AP classes and what students should do to get the grades. He says strong time management skills allow the two to coexist. A long-term commitment and deep involvement in a few extracurricular activities is the result of should be a part of daily planning. If a student wants the grades, they will do what it takes to get them. Those who aren't focusing on AP courses are not in a bad place. AP courses can be stressful and very hard on a high school student. However, students that are in AP courses in high school are a little more prepared for college than those that are not. The expectations have been broken down clearly by several, stating that students fresh out of high school may think that a college course is similar like a high school class, and once they are in it, the expectations are fundamentally different. There is a major lack of quality courses that help students feel prepared for what they are to expect in college. The courses for high school are not supposed to just be taken and passed for the sake of graduating. In high school, many are able to get done and get through by doing the bare minimum, but in college that is not always going to work. Many English teachers, however, are upset. For those in AP courses, they have a better head on their shoulders when heading into college than those who have not. This is not only to say that those children aren't pushing themselves to do well in school, but they also may not be given the right information that is supposed to prepare them for life after high school. Many teachers, however, are upset at this notion of implementing non-fiction over fiction works. From the state standards, they make a statement saying, the criteria articulated below concentrate on the most significant elements of the Common Core state standards and lay out their implications for aligning materials with the standards. These guidelines are not meant to dictate classroom practice, but rather to help ensure that the teachers receive effective tools. Teachers fear for their rights and for the rights of teaching as they see fit being stripped away with these new standards. However, as it was stated, they are meant to help guide and not control. Those who have been given authority to teach in schools have been given the right to personalize the way that they teach and to teach how they would like. Bringing on stronger text is not an adjustment that will need to be made by all. The goal is to challenge students cognitively and expand their knowledge. Not only are they to read into the text, but also discuss a variety of information they are getting from the text. As it may seem disinteresting, the facts hold the key to being well-rounded in the basic areas of life. This will expand their knowledge and thought process. So when they get into college, they are not limited to degrees that they only have knowledge of. If students are already knowing of the degree they desire, then the school should partner with them to get the basics out of the way, so by the time they get to college, they are ready for the bigger challenges for the degree that they are focusing on. This is for their benefit to help them feel more prepared as they move on from one stage of life to the other. The future is ultimately the goal, and this is why we were fighting for it. If the future is fogged up and those that will take on this earth in years to come aren't well trained for the real world, then we have failed as a school system. This change is not to make a dramatic change in the way things are done or the way teachers are teaching. It is to improve in the areas that need to be cleaned up. The students now and those that are to come will be better off in the end, no matter where life takes them. Whether students are going off to college or to jobs straight out of high school, the tools and skills they learn in grade school are to do more than just get them by. They are to help shape them into proud members of society. So that's all. Thank you.